Weddings. It should be everything the happy couple ever wanted. But the big day you've been dreaming of, it rarely comes cheap. So how much does the average wedding cost? What are the obvious expenses and what are the hidden costs? Have you planned for everything? Have you thought of ways of keeping costs down without sacrificing the romance of your wedding day? With this handy guide to budgeting for your wedding, you can keep costs in check and stress at bay. Depending on what kind of wedding you have in mind, the cost can vary pretty wildly. So if you want to keep it low-key, the budget should follow suit. But if you're emotionally invested in the fairy tale, the budget could easily skyrocket. Still, whatever you have in mind, there are ways to keep your bank balance happy. First up, you should categorize your wedding expenses. It could fall in one of these 6 groups: the venue, the wedding photographer, outfits, catering, further wedding day costs, and of course, the honeymoon. The venue is probably the first thing you'll want to lock in. The average venue could cost anywhere between 3,000 to 13,000 euros. If your heart is set on getting married in a castle, expect to pay more. If you're looking at a venue in the city, you might come in towards the lower end. But there are loads of variables to think about. Is this wedding party staying overnight? Will the venue host a dress rehearsal? Decide what's important to you, set your venue budget, and don't exceed it. Next up, you'll probably want to hire a photographer to capture the moment. Hot tip, here is where you can save by taking a chance on a friend who does photography on the side. Or you can choose someone who's fairly new to wedding photography. Their rates will likely be lower. Expect to spend in the range of 500 to 2,000 euros. Wedding outfits are not just limited to you and your fiancé. If there are multiple bridesmaids, you may envision them in matching looks. Ditto the best man. Family members may be happy to buy their own outfits, but if you've chosen a theme, be prepared to shell out. Suits and dresses tend to begin around 250 euros each, but the wedding dress could come up to as much as 2,000 euros, so shop wisely. And don't forget the ring. This symbol of your love is an investment for life. Expect to pay anywhere from 200 euros to 1,500 euros each. Your catering spend depends not just on the cuisine that you have in mind, but the size of the wedding party too. This can vary from 25 euros to 150 euro per head, depending on how fancy your tastes are. Cutting the guest list by just 10 people could save you hundreds of euros or more on food and drink alone. Is the bar tab prepaid or included in the venue cost? Make sure you discuss it upfront and get the best possible deal. Booking a ceremony outside of peak season, autumn to early spring, could also slash the fee. There are other general costs to consider too, more than you might think. For example, there's transport to and from the venue. Will the bride and groom ride in a limo or a vintage car? These things don't come cheap. Do you need to upgrade the venue with additional equipment, like a sound system? What about the DJ, flowers, a makeup artist? Be brutal in deciding what's important and what's not. Cash in favors with friends where you can, or book professionals well in advance. Different religious or cultural traditions might have to be considered as well. And last, but certainly not least, will you be taking off on honeymoon once the big day is over? A long weekend in the sun can be a very different financial proposition to a 10-day safari or luxurious beach break in Bali. All told, the honeymoon could come in below 1,000 euros, but might top out at 5,000 euros or even more. So decide what chunk of the overall budget should be spent on honeymooning and then don't exceed it. To recap, by planning smartly, deciding upfront what matters most to you, and taking steps to keep your budget in check, you can plan a truly unforgettable wedding day that won't break the bank. Remember to establish your budget upfront and stick to it. Call in favors from friends where possible, keep the guest list tight, and consider getting an off-season wedding. And don't forget that you can also use N26 spaces to put money aside while saving for your dream day. Follow some or all of these steps and your bank balance will be as thrilled as your lucky fiancé on the big day. Already married? How did you budget for your wedding day? Perhaps you have a few savvy tips for the soon-to-be marrieds out there. Tell us in the comments. Still have questions about money management or just on the lookout for smart banking tips? Subscribe to our YouTube channel or head to n26.com.